this, it's like, oh yeah. It's all about the groove. So you've heard of 3 chords and the truth. Today we're talking 1 chord and the groove. And the tune at hand is Old Blue by Jim Jackson. Now it's a super groovy tune, a simple tune. Not easy, but it is simple. But I have some tips I think will help you get your mind around this thing. Now, this is the first time you heard of this tune, it's from the Harry Smith anthology. Little known fact, though, is Charlie Parr recorded it with, who's that? This was the first time I was ever like in a real studio. Also the first time I ever played in the key of B flat on a fiddle. Also the last time I ever recorded in a real studio. So you gotta wonder if those things are correlated. But whatever, this tune's in G and it only has 1 chord. We can handle this. Old Blue was originally recorded by Jim Jackson. His prominent fame actually came from Kansas City, the tune Kansas City. He was actually a Mississippi-born musician, but he mainly worked out of Memphis. So he was actually a pretty huge country blues star. And like so many of our heroes, he died with no grave marker until 2023. And we have the Mount Zion Memorial Fund to thank for that. Now, Old Dog Blue, it's a cute old song about a guy's dog dying. And it's a sweet song. As somebody who is openly not a dog person, that's me, not a dog person here, even I, shed a tear over the story of Old Dog Blue. You're not going to find too many folks who can play the song quite like Jim Jackson played it. It's just it's a dance to be able to get all these moving parts at the same time and have that cadence he had. The closest I'd actually ever heard was out east at this thing called the Harry Smith Frolic. Now, Old Blue was released on the Harry Smith anthology, and there's a get-together out east where folks stand up around a bonfire and one person at a time, or whoever wants to, will perform their version of a song from the anthology. It's just fantastic. And this old guy stood up with a fretless banjo and just blew my mind. I looked it up on YouTube, and believe it or not, I found it.
Blue treated possum in the hollow alone.
Just to be sure that this was actually the year I attended the festival, there's a young me, 2014. Anyway, the internet, it's crazy what you'll find on that place. And as an aside, this is what it's all about, folks. I mean, this is why you isolate yourself and huddle around a record to just figure out these old tunes, because getting together with folks who feel the same way you do, there's just nothing like it. Anyway, so let's break this down. This is Old Dog Blue.
I'm going back where I come.
All right, so to me, there's like 3 main things happening. First is like the steady bass, the pulse of the song, and he's just rooting on this 3rd fret on his G chord, and then you've got this like rhythm on top. It's like offbeat rhythm, and you've got this other little thing in between all that, which is just inner groove stuff. Quite a dance, like I mentioned earlier, to get all this together. So let's break it down. You've got these little offbeats, which is like, that's kind of the picking pattern of this entire song. It's kind of the secret sauce. If you can get used to this, it's gonna help everything else out. And I'm plucking the 1st and 2nd string with my 2 fingers. You could rake it with 1 finger. Most country blues players do play with 2 fingers, but if you look at some of these photos, I see 2 fingers touching his guitar strings, and it works really naturally. Now the inner stuff is this, right? And you got to be able to do that while holding this G chord. I hold this G chord with I call it like the backdoor G, meaning I've got some access stuff behind my fingers there. You could do it with this G, and you'd get the same results. I happen to know that the recording, though, you can hear this open B string, so I don't know, doesn't really matter, but I think this is the chord he's doing. All right, so going forward, how to add that all in. Play that pattern once, and the second time, instead of plucking the upper 2 strings like you always do, you're going to take those fingers and pluck those middle strings. that makes your pattern consistent, right? You're not changing your pattern at all. You're still doing this, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick. You're just changing your sound source. After that, right? Again, we want to keep this pattern, boom, chick, boom, So if you watch this, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, right? That keeps my pattern consistent. So you're kind of raking from the 6th string to the 4th string. Put that all together. Right? After that, you got this. And I'll say this one more time. We're going to just keep that pattern, boom, chick, boom, chick, consistent. So instead of booming on the low string, you're going to now just boom on those middle strings. So you kind of change the pattern. You don't change the pattern, you just change where you're starting. Something like this. And you see whenever I hammer onto this D string, I'm always raking from the 6th string first. It's not an exact thing, right? But if you listen closely to that recording, you almost always hear this steady bass. The only time he breaks it is when he hits this top thing on the G string. That's the only time he breaks it. Because that's a really big gap. One could do it though. So the only time I leave that is on the G string. So all together, the song sounds like this. And you just loop it. And you sing about your old dog Blue. That's been this 1-chord song. Now it almost feels sacrilegious, but I did tab it out. So you can find that over on the Patreon, along with like a slow play along, or I'll just loop it over and over. You can try to play along. There's a bunch of stuff on the Patreon. Most of it's, more chords than one. But I encourage you to try these 1-chord songs and be able to talk while you do it. Otherwise, check out what's coming on next, and I just appreciate you being here.